Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in the last video tutorial on this series, we talk about operators. So we talked about all the operators in that. Okay, so in this video we are going to talk about loops, okay, and why do we need loops, okay? So when we talk about a loop, we can think about a loop as a repetition, okay? So where we repeat one thing over and over and over again, okay, a number of times, okay? So we are going to talk about loop. Now, let me just give you a simple example why you want to use a loop. Suppose I have this print statement here and I want to just print hello world. Okay, hello world here. Now, with this hello world, if I run it, it's going to display in the console. You know that, okay? So that's hello world here. Now with this hello world, what if I want to print this number of times, okay? If I want to print it, let's say 5 times, how am I going to do that? So in the simple thing, you would think you have to take this and then paste it let's say 5 times if you want to print it 5 times. Now if you run this code, then you are going to get five hello world in the console. That makes sense. But what if you can do this thing just with one line of code? Okay, so instead of repeating it manually here, why don't we have a code that can repeat this for us? Okay, so instead of pasting the code 4 more times here, why don't we just have one here and then have a code that can run it 5 times for us? So that's what loops are for. Okay, so we use loops to repeat some functionalities in our code. Okay, so in that we have the for loop, we also have the while loop. Okay, so we are going to talk about this in more details. Okay, now you understand what a loop is and then how why we need the loop. Okay, so let's write a simple code. Okay, and then I will explain to you how it works. So I have sorry, I have a comment here. So let me just go ahead and then write this code here. And then I have this, I have that, and this. Okay, sorry. Okay, so I have this print hello world in this for loop, which I'm going to explain to you. So I now when I run this code, it's going to print a number of times, okay, more than the 5 times here. Okay, so now let's talk about the loop, okay, here that I have here. So with this for loop, you can see I have the for loop and then I have a bracket here. That is okay. And then I have the curly bracket here, okay. And then inside the curly bracket I have my statement, okay. So this curly bracket signifies the block of the for loop, okay. So every code that we want to run a number of times should go within the curly bracket of the for loop, okay. Now, when we come here, you can see that we have where we initialize a variable. Okay, so this is just like you come here and then you create a variable like this, where you have int I and then you assign 0 to it. Okay, so inside here, inside the for loop, the first part is what initialization of a variable, where you initialize a variable. Okay, so that's what we did there. Okay, so we had what we were having before, which is the int I is equal to 0 here. So we create a variable inside the for loop, okay, and then we assign 0 to it. Now we have this semicolon which separates the initialization from the condition here. So this line of code is like a condition. So if you remember in the other video that we did, we were able to compare um a value, okay, using the comparison operators, okay, the less than, the greater than, okay. So inside the for loop we have the initialization separated by the semicolon, and then we have the condition, okay. So the condition is where we have to get a statement to return true, okay. When it returns false, then it's not going to work again. So we have true here, we have a condition here which we are saying that I is less than 10. And if you look at the first initialization, I is what? 0, because we assign 0 to it. So that means that 0 is less than 10 and the condition is true. Okay, so this will make the for loop work. Now, after the condition, we separate it by what? A semicolon. and then we have the I plus plus here. So now here this part, after the condition, we have the increment, okay, or the decrement. So there can be a decrement or an increment, okay. So what do we do here? So we say that we want to increase I by what? One. So if you remember in the operators, when I spoke about the operators, I talk about the increment operator and then the decrement operator. Okay. So we have I here, which initially was zero, and then we are increasing by what? One. So you know that when you do I plus plus, then it means increase by one. Okay. So we inside after that we put all our code that we want to loop that kind of number of time inside the curly bracket of the for loop. Now, so how is this going to work? If I have 0 here, okay, and then I have 10 here, now this will loop for the first time, and then it knows that 0, I is equal to 0, and then 0 is less than what, 10. Okay, so the condition is true, and then this code will run inside. Okay, and then it will increase the I by 1, and then this will become what, 1. So I is now what, 1 here, and then 1 is still less than 10. So the condition is also true, and then this will run. You get the point. So that's how the for loops work. Now I have this print statement here, and it is run how many times? 10 times. Okay. So if you run the code in your own way, you can see that this is running 10 times, where we have 4 here, we have 6 here, we have 8 here, and then we have 10 here. Okay, now when I gets to 10, okay, when I get to 10, 10 is not less than 10. So this condition will become what? False. Then it will not run the code again. So when this condition becomes false, then the code will stop executing. Now that is simply how the for loop works. Okay, so as we are also looping through a for loop, we can also use the value that we get from I, okay, because we have, let me just comment this, we have I to be equal to 0 here, and then we have I plus plus here. Now if I want to also display I, okay, then I can go ahead and display I here, and then when I run the code, I should see I attached to it. Okay, let's run the code. Now I can see that I started from 0, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 9. And the reason why we are not seeing 10 is because when we get to 10, like I said, 10 is not less than 10, and then the condition is 4, so we don't see it printed here. So that's how we use the for loop. So what if I want to write a simple 2 times table, let's say up to the number 12, okay, multiplication of 2 up to 12, then how am I going to do that? Okay, so we know that the for loop, I want to run up to what? I want to start from 1 to 12. Okay, so 2 by 1, 2 by 2, up to 12. Now I have this int, and then I can say number here, and I can assign this to be 1. Okay, now I want the number variable to start to have a number of 1 here, which will then increase into 12. So now I have number, and then less than what, 13 here. Then I want to increase the number. Okay, now if I have this, then I can go ahead and print, let's say, number, let me just go 2 by number, 2 by number here, okay, is equal to what? Number by 2. Yeah. Okay, so you know that this will start from 0, and then this will end at 12. Okay, because when number is 13, then the condition becomes false, and then we will not get what, 13 included in the code. So that's how we can use loops to do certain things. So you can see that this is written here. Okay, we can see 2 by 1 is 2, and then 2 by 2 4, and all that. Okay, so we use loop to run certain number of code over and over again. Okay, so that's how the for loop work. Okay, so we also have the for in loop. Okay, the for in loop, okay, which help us to iterate through what, an object. Okay, suppose I have let's say my list here, and then I have this here, 1 3 5 and then 7 and then 9 here. Okay, so I have this. Let me just yeah, so now I have this code list here. Okay, you know list. Okay, we've not talked about our list so much here. So I have this list here, and I want to loop through this object, which is a list. The object is a list. Okay, now I can use the for in loop here. Okay, to go through the for loop. Okay, so in this I can just write my code like for the for loop. Okay, and then I can have my object here. Let's say I can just call it number, and then in my list here. Now when I print I I should get the elements returns to me. Okay, so these are the elements inside the list. Now when I run this code, I should have 1 3 5 7 and then 9 printed to me. So you can see I'm having the numbers printed in the console. This is because we can use the for in loop, okay, to loop through elements in a list, okay, or loop through an object. Okay, so that's for the for loop here. So I will talk about the while loop in other video tutorial. Okay, so I will see you guys in the next video tutorial.